And we're live. It is Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel. He's Lucky. We're back. It is Tuesday. Holy cow.
2 weeks in a row.
Did you know it is our 94th podcast?
94th?
Yeah.
I had no idea that we were.
Next time we do this, it'll be 95, and then we're just a fistful away from 100 shows, man.
That is pretty epic, considering I had no idea what this was going to look like when we first started and how long it would last. And it just was something I felt like I wanted to do with you. And because we have these conversations all the time, but we just thought we should share them with everybody else. And that's basically how it came about. And
nobody else is doing this either, so cornering the market really which is elevated us to brand new internet superstardom heights, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah, I know. I have to wear a wig at the grocery store now, but
those oversized glasses are with intent, you know.
Yeah, I'm just happy we're back 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I know. It's, man, what a pain in the butt life has been recently, but I agree.
It is what it is.
I really agree. So what's good in the hood? You had friends visiting from the great state of Utah, right? The Sunshine State. Go on.
The utopian Utah.
Utopia. I like that. It's not true.
No, not at all. So growing up, in California, my family was very close with another family called the Anastasians. Mike and Arlene Anastasian. They had 3 children, Amy being the eldest, and she had, I think, 3 years on me. And then their son David, who was my brother Eric's best friend, but we were the same age. So all 3 of us, Eric and I are stepbrothers. So like we're 3 months apart, but Eric and him, they were best friends. And then our another friend, Jason Powers, and the 4 of us kind of were a core unit. And then their younger sister, Susie, who was slightly older than my sister, Laura, but they got along really well. So they hung out pretty frequently.
Yeah.
So, the parents hung out, the kids hung out. There's a lot of interaction there. Amy was like an older sister to us, so she was off doing her own thing and was really irritated by all of us boys whenever we were over there. And they had moved back when we were 12. They had been living in England for a job for his dad for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then had just recently moved back to the States and were living in California. Now, none of them have English accents. None of them picked that up while they were over there because they weren't naturally English. So, but they brought back a lot of stuff, like they love Doctor Who, like the early 70s, kind of real campy Doctor Who stuff, which
cream in your tea, crumpets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? So, but Amy and her husband, that they've been married for, I have no idea, probably 22, 23, 24 years, somewhere in there. Somewhere similar
close to a million. Yeah.
All right. Yep. And he's originally from Utah, so they moved out there. They had a daughter, and then like 8 years later, I think, had a son. And so they've got the 2 kids, and prior to COVID and our house fire, they came out and spent like 4 or 5 days with us in the summer and stayed at our house. And I tattooed both the parents, and then they went back to Utah. Yeah. And so now they were actually one of the times that I was down there with you down in Vegas. They actually came down from Utah and got tattooed there as well last year. And then now their daughter has turned 18. And so they were like, we're driving out and we're getting her first tattoos.
Cool.
So she got a little one, about 15 minutes on her ribs. and then a big one on her thigh that we got the line work and the black work in, but we still have another session to do. But she handled it pretty good. Not bad, especially for first tattoos, 18-year-old. But yeah, it was good. We got to catch up with them. Went and had dinner that night, and then the next day we met up with them after church and went to my sister has a new sit-down coffee shop in Rathdrum, called a Sit and Sip.
Okay.
Which I do my best not to call it a sit and spin in front of my sister, because I don't think she'd really appreciate that.
Not a good look. Yeah.
We had coffee there before they headed off to go see like Glacier National Park or something like that. So, but it was a good visit overall.
Nice.
They're fun to be around. So the kids are okay. They're not very engaging, but it doesn't really matter. That's not what I'm there for. But yeah, outside of that, I don't know, man. I had a real long work week. It was heavy and steady, and I did take my wife down to the water on Sunday, because if I hadn't, in the 95-degree weather for the first time this summer, I probably would have been divorced by the end of the week. She needed to be near the water. So, but 95 degrees is polar in comparison to what you've been going through this week.
It's true. I tell everyone that asks what it's like living here, and it's like, well, have you ever been cremated before? No. It's great all year round, but there's about 3-month period where it's really cartoon levels of hot, and we're in the dog days of that right now. It is cooled off to 108 degrees, and it's going to stay there probably for another 4 or 5 weeks, I'd imagine. So it's one of those things. It's crazy down here. I have an adventure in home ownership to discuss with you, though.
Oh.
I'm going to lay out a situation. As you're well aware, you've been here numerous times. I am not a huge fan of the North American pigeon. I don't like them. These pigeons routinely just die in places around my property. They just fall over dead. And often it's on the roof where I got to crawl out of a window and then balance up there with like a mask and gloves and plastic bags and tongs and try and take care of these disease-carrying feathered rats. Anyway, I'm not a fan. So my neighbor, who I'm pretty close with, he's like, hey man, I'm going to have a company come by and do an estimate on my house to rid it of pigeons and do some pigeon mitigation stuff. And I said, send them my way when they're done. He's like, of course. And he knew that's all I wanted to hear, because I don't care for these birds. And there's a lot of them. It makes me want to get a Jack Russell Terrier to chase them off, kind of.
Right. They are a menace at your house.
Bad.
Like it has been an ongoing issue.
It's a lot of them. And birds are pretty creatures of habit. And there's a pool in the backyard, so they're like, that guy's house is our new bird bath, which is annoying. So I'm going to ask you, if you were to put just on the ridges of the house some spike strips, and then put a little patch of those spike strips on top of your air conditioner so they don't land on it and poop into it, how much do you think an operation like that might run you? Just, I don't know, $800, $500, $1,000? Like, where do you imagine just doing the ridges with spikes and on top of the air conditioner might land a homeowner in cost to put up little metal spikes in a V shape that are already pre-assembled? You just kind of got to stick them up there.
Yeah, they have kind of pre-formatted little like strips with those on them that they kind of basically tack on to the outside edges of everything, or like
and go on the expensive side, because I also asked them to take a water hose and blow the debris off the crevices of the roof to just blow it off, and I would clean it up on my own time.
Right. Now, considering it is a specialty probably service, which not a lot of people offer. This isn't heat, it's not HVAC, but
we
it
don't
is,
have falconry services, unfortunately, which if you have not seen on
Right.
YouTube, you should look into. That's incredible. They will literally like take a real falcon out there on a leather glove and do a whistle,
yeah.
and it'll go attack the pigeons where they're nested. It's insane. So
Yeah.
I don't own a tiger, sadly. No owls.
Yeah.
And no falconry services. So just spike
What
strips
about
on the
an
ridges.
owl? Okay. But because I've got some alternatives, but
Sure.
this in particular, I would say we're looking at for your house on the
Mhm.
wrap, and then on that, you're probably looking in the $2,500 range.
Yeah, so probably not $4,900, right?
What?
Yeah. Like for
They want 5K.
are they magic strips? Do they have guns? Like, do they shoot the birds as they fly overhead? Is there netting services? Do I get to watch the bird get scared and then not come to my house? Do I get to experience that like an IMAX, or what's?
Wow.
And I'm like, this is insane. And I feel like that's a bid from a company that doesn't want to do the job. Now, I've been informed that people that do roofing services in some areas have to pay an astronomical amount of money for insurance on their contractors. So the prices for roofing related things might generally be higher than they otherwise would for other stuff. But to glue some metal pointy objects on a few ridge lines in my house and hose it off, I don't think $5,000 is the way to go. I just don't see it.
Yeah, logistically, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that is crazy.
Did I tell you what the bid turned out to be for the windows? If I wanted to get double pane windows installed to help mitigate some of the heat, update the house. The house was built in the late 90s, so there's some newer tech. And my house does have a lot of windows, but what would you venture a guess would cost to replace the windows in my house with some new ones?
I think you did tell me about this, but it wasn't it somewhere in the realm of $50K?
No, it was $135,000.
Oh yeah, yeah. So triple what I just said. That's
It's like, dude, that's a whole nother house in some areas of the country. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Home ownership. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be stuck chasing pigeons off with the wrist rocket.
Well, I've got a couple of alternatives.
I think we should talk them out because I've considered napalm. I've considered explosives.
Do you have? You can go down to your Cabela's and go get yourself one of those owl statues.
Yeah. My neighbor has one of those on the other side of the street, and it has bird poop all over it. I don't think they're respecting the gangster on that one.
All right. Well, then you get yourself some fishing line and you get yourself one of those mini crossbows and you spear them off your roof. Yeah. And then that way they're not stuck up there. You just drag them back. Maybe you can get 2 or 3 at a time if you get a good angle, line them up. I mean, from what I understand, your dad could teach you a thing or two about that.
That's true. For those of you that don't know, my father is a creative genius when it comes to wasting time while being productive. And we had a chicken problem one time. And rather than just shoot them with a .22, corral them up, feather them, and then butcher them, he thought it would be a brilliant idea to use a compound bow and arrow setup and get a little practice in. And he claims the problem was that when he would try to shoot a .22, the chickens would be pecking and they would duck under or over the shot and they would get away. And the real reason is we had way too many chickens. The chickens were taking over was the problem. So we're sitting inside the house. He's on the roof of the house, which we did not know. And we saw an arrow come down out of the sky and shish kebab one of these birds, and then maniacal laughter that sounded dangerously like my dad's voice, which later turned out it was. So kudos, Pop. He should be visiting actually here in a few days, which is great. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
We'll see about that. No, I don't know what it is. Do I put up razor wire decoratively, and then when they try to land in the pool, they just cut themselves apart, and I just collect the pieces underneath? I don't know. But the birds are out of control, and that's way too much money. Way too much money.
Have you looked into lasers?
So yes, the problem is there's quite a bit of military and commercial air traffic nearby. And I had thought this through because I'm worried about getting a notice from like the Federal Aviation Administration or the MP show up at my house and be like, is there a laser being shot somewhere from this property? I'm like, no. Yeah, I looked at that. I considered how fast I could get a Tiger and what some of the potential complications of that would be.
If there was ever a city that you could get a Tiger in, it would be that one.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I am blaming my neighbor's wife for this one. We had a neighborhood cat that I affectionately refer to as Gargoyle Cat. And Gargoyle Cat would just prowl around, and I would see him late at night sitting on my front porch where the welcome mat would be, staring up at the security cameras because you can see the infrared illumination behind the lens. So it's just these glazed eyeballs and a little flappy tail just staring at right into the camera for sometimes a half an hour. And then it would just go away, but it would prowl for mice and it would like kind of disrupt the bird pattern. But my neighbor's wife started putting food out, and she eventually captured and domesticated that Gargoyle Cat. And now it's a house cat. And now I have no defenders against the birds. So I'm quick to remind her when I see her, or if we go to lunch and stuff, that truly the pigeon issue is probably a direct result of domesticating her own pet, which I think is great for her, but we all suffer for that. So
right
now,
so now it's
not your fault, Jess. By the way,
one Jack Russell Terrier, or
a single
you
Jack
get
Russell.
a bunch of, or you get like 15 stray cats and just sprinkle cat food around your house, and so that way they're just constantly prowling for.
Dude, the birds would get to it so much faster. That's the problem, is they'd be like, food and water, we don't ever have to leave.
But that's just bait for the cats. Then you bring the bait for the birds, the cats eat the birds, the dog eats the cat, and so on and so forth in the circle of life.
I mean, there has to be, and let us know if you guys are aware, but there has to be some form of pigeon mitigation that does not require mild construction to my home, or drastic measures with firearms. Like
like sonic, something like a sonic thing that you could do.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, these birds, like one of them was like smoking a cigar, was like missing an eye and stuff. Like, I don't think they care about statues. And it's said that if you put those shiny objects that spin around in the wind or whatever, it's supposed to deter birds. It doesn't. They're like nesting underneath them, like, oh, that's a cool hood ornament. So anyway, almost $5,000 is a lot of money to put little spike strips on my house, and foiled again once more by another contractor bid that I'm not going to pay for. So Adventures in Homeownership continues. It's fun and very expensive.
Another option is you could find a local crow and give them shiny trinkets because they love that, and they have forever memories. So you can give them shiny trinkets and then have it be your friend, and then he can guard your house from.
Do crows mess with pigeons?
Yeah,
they're a natural predator.
Attack pigeons.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they'll chase them off and they'll like keep them out of their territory and stuff. So if you make it their territory, and then because they're so smart that if you show that you don't like those pigeons, he'll help you get rid of them.
Nice.
So, but this is like a 2-year plan. So
it's, it requires
a lot
patience.
of investment. A lot of investment in a crow. Yeah.
Although I do think I could knock out the bird problem and the barking dog problem with one tiger. Like if the
I
dog starts
agree.
barking and like a tiger looks over the fence down at it, I don't think the dog would keep barking as much or as often.
No.
Um,
But
anyway, my
that's
week is
solid.
very hot and very boring and very work filled as well. So yeah, we're getting through it. We're getting through it.
We could cool down by doing one of our favorite / least favorite things,
Mhm.
which is shitting on Western Washington.
We can do that. In fact, that is
Yeah.
the very first line item on the notes for this podcast, friends. Are you listening? It says poo on Seattle. So let's do it.
Yeah.
This is kind of bananas. We're going to talk about, and it's not funny that a shooting happened, but the
not at all.
aftermath of the ineptitude of the city's leadership, and I say that word begrudgingly, it has been abhorrent at best.
Yeah.
Go on.
But also standard operating for that area. Like it's so on what was this Sunday night?
Yep.
Yeah. So Sunday night, and I've been down to this event numerous times with my family. But Seattle has this great thing down at the city center or down by the Space Needle area.
Yep. Seattle Center.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this thing called the Bite of Seattle. And a lot of cities have these kind of things where they have all their food vendors come down for a weekend and you get to try all the different types of foods and it's fun.
All four of them showed up, the ones that outlasted the pandemic for Seattle. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But the Bite of Seattle has been going on for many years. We used to love taking the kids down there. But now it's gotten to the point where you can't, and people will not now. This may be the end of this event due to the fact that Seattle has dropped the ball so dramatically and intentionally on their crime and how to control it via the mayor down. I mean, we could go further up the ladder from there, but at least, in perspective of what city policing looks like, where they are more apt to protect the criminals than the people and the residents living in Seattle. So, and this has been an ongoing issue for, a decade or two now. But it progressively gets worse with every year to the point where there was a shooting on Sunday night at the Bite of Seattle. And it apparently 7 people were injured and 3 people were actually killed.
Yeah.
And one of those injured people were a child, was a toddler. So absolutely tragic. And from what it looks like they have one of the suspects in custody, and it looks like it was gang shooting. And it was amongst teenagers. Like the kid was a 15-year-old kid. So obviously that kid did not get that firearm legally.
Correct.
It was an illegal firearm. Because he's not even old enough to obtain one in any state, let alone the state of Washington. So, but yeah, so the crackdown on the citizens over and the blatant letting out and leniency on criminality that Seattle has been doing and practicing now comes to fruition even in these type of events where you just aren't safe anywhere you go in Seattle.
Yeah.
And it's going to start shutting down staple events like this that kind of are the fabric of Seattle, these type of outdoor markets, these type of kind of events and festivals. People are just going to stop going. Yeah. And if they already aren't seeing drastic number loss at these events, now they will. Like it will absolutely cut these things in half. And it is just you're correct. The way that they handled this afterwards is so abhorrent that it has taken the injury and put so much insult on top of it that I don't even know how people are allowing this.
Well, it's kind of weird because in some circles, if you look at the ingredients list that makes up the reaction, there's kind of two parts. There's what could we have done better for prevention, in the fact that the police force, and I'm still going to use that word, is limited. In fact, a lot of people don't want to work there because they know their work is in vain. Regardless of the pay structure, I know if I stop a crime as it's occurring, even if I save a life, that person's going to be back out on the street. And we have years and years and years and years of evidence to point to this, because the DA that was letting him out is now the governor of Washington. That'd be Bob Ferguson. And so there's a real track record of that. There's a lot of controversy over the last two Seattle police chiefs as well, which is pretty well documented. I think we covered it on the show. But now there are, I think, one, maybe two conservative sheriffs left, wherever sheriffs do their sheriffing countywide. One of them's Pierce County, which is in Western Washington. And they're already establishing legislation to forcefully remove a sheriff they disagree with, so they can appoint ad nauseum their own sheriff anywhere they want to across the state. So
100%.
From the preventative perspective, bad news bears. On the reaction perspective, like once the tragedy has occurred, how do we both illustrate that this type of crime is not allowed and set a precedent, but also do the most we can for the victims and the community that was impacted by such an event? And that response has been behind closed doors. In fact, some folks at press conferences for Mayor Katie Wilson are asking, hey, would cell phone videos that may or may not have been taken during this event, would that help the investigation? Since you guys can't seem to come up with any, evidence or next steps or really anything. And that's a lot to ask of somebody. It's basic logic, but it's a lot to ask of somebody who's never had a job before becoming mayor. And so they're just ill-equipped, both on the preventative and the post-mortem side. Not to be so gruesome, but the post-mortem side of a tragedy like this, there is no self-reflection from the city's leadership whatsoever. And I think I can't find a better word. It's abhorrent. Like the people like this should not be in charge of decision-making for a large group of people, but they continue to stack the deck. Most coastal states, by the way, not just Washington, but they continue to stack the deck to enforce whatever it is they want to do with their own agenda, to spend the money the way they want, whenever they want, whether it's against the state constitution or not. We've seen that broken already. And this will be the, second consecutive year they've found a way to implement a 9.5% tax twice. Where's the money going, which they can't prove? And why are the streets so bad, which are always under construction? And, it goes on and on and on. This is why we shit on Western Washington as bad as we do. But this one's like, again,
egregious.
I tell people,
this is
like,
egregious.
This is why I left. Like, I could see the chalk outline forming around the city enough to where I was like, dude, I'm gone. Like, I had an epiphany moment, but like beyond that, when I had the ability a couple of years after the fact to actually go, I was gone. It took me, I think, 44 days after I got the okay from my employer over at Redacted, I was gone. So it just sucks, man. I hate to see this shit, but it just keeps going. It just continues.
Right. And in a just world, with the way that this was handled, that allowed it to happen, but then also how it was handled afterwards, it's so egregious that in a just world, this person would be forced to resign. The mayor, the chief of police, these people would be forced to resign because they failed at their jobs. At any other job that you are, that you drop the ball so entirely that, people are dying around you and you've got nothing to do or to show, to help, to do anything to alleviate that, to stop it. But then even in the back end, you have no offers of solace, no offers of fixing an issue, nothing. You've got nothing. And you're just like throwing your hands up and go, guns are bad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you're offering the people of Seattle. You should be fired immediately. But the second point that you had made, that about the sheriffs and the fact that they are literally trying to push through legislature right now that says that if we don't agree with an elected sheriff by the people, that if we don't agree with him, that we can have him removed and appoint our own that will do what we say in our bidding. This goes further to my explanation a couple of months ago that with the way that the legislative body and the judicial system has been operating, that voting doesn't and will not matter at a state level. Now, on a federal level, that's a different thing, but they're just going to do away with voting because what's going to happen is they're going to overturn everybody's votes so often that people are just going to stop doing it. They're just going to stop voting, and they're like, see, it's not even worth it. We're just going to now implement this new system where we just appoint all of our legislative body, all of our county and city officials. We're just going to appoint them.
Yeah.
Hiring at a job, and no one will get to vote for state stuff anymore. They'll just push it all through because people will, within a short matter of time, if they start removing constitutional sheriffs that were elected, that the people chose, and they start removing them and replacing them with tyrannical, yes men that they need in order to implement.
It's going to be
policy.
Mr. Creedy in his black bag, just bagging people off the street. Yeah,
absolutely. So once that happens, then people will go, oh, our vote doesn't matter. They can just take our vote away from us.
And then that's the first thing they're going to say. The second thing they're going to say is, we should move to Idaho.
Yeah.
And that's where I would like for us to champion the idea that Idaho and Nevada should build a wall, and that Washington and California should pay for it.
Yeah. 100%.
I say that in jest, but I'm dead serious. It's exactly what they do. Like, oh, this sucks here. I don't feel safe anymore. I watch friends of mine do this during the BLM stuff. They're quick to put on makeup and go downtown and get their Instagram photos, charging for Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. And I shit you not, the second something scary happened outside the home and they called the police and nobody came because defund the police was a big deal, they put their house up for sale and they left. They just left and moved to a completely different state. And I'm just like, nobody can see the cause and effect. You cannot see where you might have a little irony in this situation. Maybe rethink some of the affect of these big social justice causes that you're taking up without really thinking it through. Like, this is bananas.
Well, somehow they flip it upside down and try to blame it that the problems of the state are due to that they haven't crushed capitalism enough. And so or something to that effect. It's going to be toxic
masculinity, or it's going to be there's too many damn trees in the evergreen state. Like, they'll find, somewhere to blame shift, but
as they move out of the state to a red state and then try to change that red state.
Right. To prove the point before regurgitating the same voting patterns. It's brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the conservatives are flawless. They're far from it. But when you've got a situation where it's now community wide, it's now unsafe to even hit up city events. And most of my recollection for city sponsored events, there has been always some, not a huge, but some police presence.
Yeah.
And apparently that didn't happen or wasn't enough. And it's really sad.
It wasn't enough to deter what happened on Sunday.
But the narrative is going to be the gun's the problem, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Case closed. We've got a narrative that's been a great talking point for us since the 70s. Really since the 40s. But yeah, it's bad.
Really,
I'm not a fan of Seattle.
when I saw that, I'm sitting there just going, I'm not shocked anymore.
Yeah.
When stuff like that happens, it does not faze me the way it used to, because now I'm looking at Seattle as basically an ongoing version of that. Every day something happens like that there. And I don't want to harbor such a vitriolic kind of outlook on them, but like I'm like, you get what you vote for. You're getting what you deserve. And it's not that I want people to die. It's that, what did they expect?
Right.
And why aren't you listening to the people who are warning you? And vote a different way or get out of there. Get out of there. And it is something that I cannot wrap my head around, though, is that people see this stuff going on and somehow still seem to vote for a lady who's never had a job before, is an avowed communist, and has no idea what she's doing.
Yeah.
And that's who they put their faith in to keep them safe in that city. Like, I just don't understand point A to point B to point C, the logic jumping, the connecting the dots there. And I guess
it's weird because
I'm just not mentally ill enough to do it, I guess, is the only way that I
like you and I professionally exist in very divergent ecosystems for our employment. And both of us will share a trait that we're in such positions that occasionally we will have to interview a candidate to hire, you at your business, me over at Redacted. Yeah. And if both of us, and I experienced this a lot within the last week recently, but if there's ever a time when a candidate rolls up and they have no experience in a field that they're expected to not just work in, but lead in or be an example setter, or, in your case, producing artwork that kind of has your shop's name walking around town on it at all times. If they don't have any experience, probable you're not going to offer them a job. No.
Like, not even remotely, but even further beyond that,
like,
I
reduce that down to like who you're voting for and be like, well, this person's never done literally anything adjacent to this line of work, but actually, in fact, realistically, gospel truth, has not ever had a job, kind of existed off of funding from her family, and bragged about it, so right? I mean, that kind of,
I would say even more than just the ability to do the job is also understanding the culture that you live in.
Yeah.
And she doesn't. She's in a bubble even there, not only not understanding how the job operates and works on a logistical level, but she doesn't understand people. She understands her very selective friend group that aren't average people, and so all of her influence, all of her perspective, all of her insight at all is based out of a very, very close-minded bubble group of people.
Yeah.
And so if there's somebody who understands the atmosphere, understands the people, understands the culture, understands their area, and has a heart for it, and is smart enough, like, sometimes I'll give them a little wiggle room with not knowing all the logistics of how the job works, because they can learn as they go, as long as they have the right perspective of what they're doing. It helps to have the skill sets and the job understanding of what you're supposed to be doing. But she has neither. She has neither of these. She's completely the wrong person for the job. And man, they just love her. They eat her up because she says all the right buzzwords before she runs away when she gets actually interviewed about something she doesn't know anything about.
I wonder what scares me more, continuing on this path as is for these folks, who I was one of for years and years, or when we finally cross the threshold of codifying the fact that your vote doesn't matter and then making it such that you don't have to vote at all because we don't do that anymore, on a long enough timeline, I could see us adopting an AI governor and an AI mayor. And I don't know if that's worse.
You're not kidding, man. Like, it is almost like, a shit sandwich and it's one or the other. There is
like that
this,
state
and this is how it
particularly
gets ushered in.
because
This is how Skynet gets ushered in, or the Matrix kind of situation.
100%, right? Because if you think about it, you don't have to be. You don't have to pass the bar to practice law there now.
Right.
So like we're teetering on the edge of oblivion when it comes to the sci-fi movie that you've been afraid of your whole life. Like truly, I think the ingredients list is building to bake that cake and see what happens, which again, I don't know what's worse. Like,
because they're already implementing it in so many ways within the government structure anyway. They're already leaning on it for all sorts of different decision making.
Biggest criticisms of this administration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are now at a point where they're actually kind of leaning on AI to do all the hard work, to do all the heavy lifting, to do the lion's share of the work. So they're already leaning on that. They're going to start letting them just make all the decisions. And then what is the point of having a non-AI governor or a non-AI police chief? Like, what is the point? If we're already leaning in that direction, you're already making poor decisions, everything's going to crap, might as well give it a shot, right? And there we are. Dude, oh man, that is terrifying because
and we're close.
It's no longer solenoid. It's no longer in the pages of a book.
You can see it coming. You can see it on the road. Yeah. I know I want to get off on a massive tangent on this or anything, but I saw an Instagram reel today, and for the record, so you can aggregate this all you want, I don't believe anything I see on Instagram no matter what until I can verify it, so we'll just go with that. But there, I believe in Virginia or someplace, was this reporter going around asking homeowners in this little suburban housing development questions about the data center that they put in the middle of the housing development. And as you pan out, you see essentially the Death Star, massive black building, like just fucking sitting wrapped in these cute little, cul-de-sac houses and stuff. But the fun part was they had to fire up the generators for testing and stuff occasionally to make sure the operations of the data center work. But the data center was never allowed to plug into the electrical grids. Now those generators are running full time. So they're talking to this guy, and the premise of the story is the noise that it creates. People are putting up like actual plexiglass on the inside of their windows and, buffering the glass and the plexiglass with like pillows and shit as sound deadeners, because there's this high-pitched grinding generator hum that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people are like starting to like lose their minds because of the audible nature of like this constant screeching that's in the background. And like you can see people are like black bags under their eyes, like smoking cigarettes. Like it's like, dude, that guy's about to snap. Like we need to keep him away from humanity for a while. Like get him a free trip to Bora Bora and tell him to cool off for a while or something. But they continue to go around and talk to these people and they're like, we're going to lose our asses on these houses. Like the value of the homes is just completely gone. The drinking water will inevitably become a problem with the cooling aspect of this. But the fact they can't plug into the city's grid is abhorrent now because they've got these generators running full time. And then it like focuses from the guy in the interview where he's blurred out and it backshots the Death Star behind him. And these generators are just black smoke coming out of the tops of these things. Like, it's every angle of what the hell that you could possibly imagine. And I'm just like, dude, how did you guys let this thing go? How could you like, it's bad enough where I live, they're trying to carve out BLM land, which is a Bureau of Land Management land. And that's about 85+% of the entire state, which is cool. If you live in Nevada, you can go off road. It's land management land. Everyone can use it at all times. Like you can run into all kinds of stuff out there, go camping, whatever. They're trying to like carve out spots to put these data centers and shit. This one's like right in the middle of suburbia town, and I think it was Virginia. I'll try to follow up on that for our next show, but I was just not to tangent too hard, but I'm like, oh God, like it's already part of the community. It could also be the leadership of the community if this goes unchecked, which I think is gross, man. Yeah. Anyway, wild stuff.
We've got enough of our, I'm split on it because we've got enough of the rabid kind of right wing lunatics up here that anytime something sideways, they're lighting pitchforks or lighting torches and raising pitchforks and going, we got to stop this thing. And I've been a part of a few of those too, but like we've got a couple of groups up here that, man, the wind goes a particular direction and they get all riled up and frothing at the mouth about something, right? So and it bugs me that they're kind of reactionary to every single thing, and some things they're just way out of line about. They don't know what they're talking about and stuff like that. But in this particular case, I'm kind of thankful for kind of those rabid, like attack everything kind of, because we're not going to be getting a data center up here like they tried because of those rabid kind of boomer types that are like, yeah, absolutely not, and we're all retired and we got plenty of time to scream and yell and make phone calls and we got money to hire lawyers and because they've put a couple in Southern Idaho, but that just won't happen here. And then like flock cameras, the worry with those, like I don't even have to say a word about them. That's a real
problem for your neck of the woods too. It's becoming a problem in my neck of the woods, but yeah.
But like we've already got like a mayor, the whole mayor of Post Falls says we won't use them. The sheriff's department is against them. Like there's a lot here. And a lot of screaming, boomers that are like, absolutely not. And so I don't even have to really lift a finger on a lot of that stuff. I just kind of sit back and let the screamers handle it. But
I mean, my favorite are the double standard folks. Like, I live against the Colorado River and we're running out of water. And principally the issue is the conservation is not enough based on the population, and everyone's at stake for that. What we do better than the Southern Pact states do is we have an incredible and highly efficient recycling program, which is kind of cool. And it goes through water treatment and then gets pumped way upstream and then it recycles and stuff. So the short way of thinking about this, if you're interested, is if a drop of water goes down a drain anywhere inside of a building, it gets recycled. If it is outside of a building, a golf course, grass, a pool, a swimming pool, you're kind of contributing to the problem, right? Like that's just gone. When it goes, evaporates, it's gone. There's no way to recycle it. The main issue for the overpumping by a large margin is California is overpumping on their side of the Colorado River so they can do things like grow artichokes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, they have like walnuts and artichokes and whatever else they're growing. And they just can't stop overpumping for essentially agricultural and farm and all that stuff. Now, the prevailing resolution, if we run out of water, because Lake Powell that feeds Lake Mead is nearly a dead pool. There's two prevailing options that could be art of the possible. One, there's an ocean nearby. We could build a couple of desalination plants and then pump that through the desert and into a recovery reservoir for Lake Mead, right? And the southern pact of the Colorado River. The alternative option is and this makes no sense, but they got pretty far in the planning on this one. You could pump the muddy waters of the Mississippi River almost all the way across the country west through a series of pipelines, and I cannot fathom how bad that water would be before it's then treated and then thus the same thing. Now, the argument for California State's participation in this is there's some endangered birdie, spotted owl type of thing that they're like, nah, the second you fire up a desalination plant, so the environmentalists are losing their minds on this stuff. They would rather see, I don't even know, 8 to 10 million people die of dehydration than mess up the ecosystem of this precious bird. However, they have no problem putting a data center in out here on the Colorado River. Pump it away.
All right.
Like what? where are we going to get the water for that? Like you're going to throw one on the California side of the desert because it's going to generate revenue for the counties that it's in San Diego and Los Angeles? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, guys. Nice. And that's not going to pollute anything, especially if it's running on generator power for 50 to 100% of its lifespan. If we do run out of water, the double standard is gorgeous because they're pretty tight-lipped about that if it generates revenue for their political system. So
also,
gotta love it.
Remind me again what generators run off of.
Typically diesel fuel, petrol.
Yeah,
petroleum based.
If they're running 24/7,
yeah.
I mean, the amount of generating power that those things need, the amount of fuel that those things need to go through, like it is just an
but electricity is magic and free. So if they just plug it into the grid, we can take it probably. Los Angeles has never experienced a brownout. They've never once said, hey, all you Tesla buyers, maybe don't charge your car on these days of the week.
Where's Greta Thunberg on these?
Where's Greta?
Let's
why is Greta get out here? Let's
Greta, come on out, Greta. What's your opinion on that? But I just don't understand why the environmentalists aren't just like screaming about these data centers.
It's the double standard that I love, and they don't. Like in the Midwestern states and in the South and stuff, they're very much kind of locking arms with some community, and it's mostly because, wait a minute, I drink this water too. But when it comes to the ideals first, logic second, folks out west, it's been pretty quiet. I haven't seen any reports from major universities come out on this stuff. But boy, if we think about pumping water into the reservoir to save the southwestern United States, it's a big issue for the spotted owl or whatever they're complaining about, the Tweety bird.
You wouldn't even need to pump it up into Lake Mead. Just make California desalinate its own water so Nevada doesn't keep having to pump water into California.
Again, Nevada just got to build a wall and make California pay for it somehow.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sure Arizona would help us out too, quietly. I'm like, hey, don't put this in the presses, but here's a couple $1 million from the city coffers. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phoenix. I don't know.
Because I mean, that's where you guys are losing the vast majority of your water is you're shipping it over to California for the avocados, the artichokes, the almonds, and some other nut.
Yeah, a lot of it's being way, way, way over pumped. Like way over pumped. And I think every state has a contributing factor to this, right? Like all the southern, especially the southern pack states. But it's wild when, I have to think about like, boy, it's incredibly bad in the wintertime that it's storming with 140% of the forecasted snowfall pounding the Rocky Mountains in these, Colorado towns and stuff. And then in the same breath be like, yes, because our water level is going to go back up. And it has once since I've lived down here. It's gone up a few feet as a result of unexpected snowfall, that stayed way longer and had a lot more of it than they anticipated. But I mean, we need 2 decades of that every year in order to recover naturally. So we have to find a solution. And I just find it funny that when it comes to data centers and potential pacts with big tech and profit generators that reinforce a lot of the same super PACs behind the same voters and all the same initiatives that hit the bills and blah, 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 that they seem to be okay with that.
Right.
Which I find amusing and also terrifying. So anyway, riots are going on in Spain because of tourism. I've experienced this firsthand. I can tell you what that looks like in the flesh.
That's what I was kind of
Talk
curious.
to me about what you saw. What's going on? This was your topic.
Well, it wasn't anything super up to date. It was something that just happened this weekend.
Yeah.
The anti-tourism protests in Spain have escalated into riots, particularly in Mallorca and Barcelona.
Yeah.
Where demonstrators have clashed with police and even assaulted tourists. These protests, driven by local frustrations over overcrowding and rising living costs due to tourism have seen significant violence, including the use of rubber bullets by police against protesters. And you happen to notice this, but this is a flashpoint in Spain right now because I think that's kind of a hot spot, but it's going on all over Europe.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of this going on, and there's Venn diagrams of it being about tourism, but then also other kind of social situations, economically or racially or religiously, that all kind of Venn diagram together. But overall, they're not happy with tourism and being treated in their minds like second-class citizens in their own country, which is, ironic. Because they allowed all of the immigration into all of those, all of the countries that are complaining the most are the ones that were the most open arms about a lot of the heavy migration from Islamic countries. And then they wag their finger at us when we say we want to close our borders. And then we're horrible. So there's, once again, the duplicitous kind of hypocrisy that you were speaking to earlier, like the double standard that seems to plague not just Americans, but it's a virus that is all over Europe as well. But like, I don't understand the complexity of it in Spain because I've never been to Spain. You have recently, and you saw it firsthand, where you weren't even allowed in certain restaurants or stores because they had signs out front.
It's pretty wild because there's a hodgepodge of ingredients that make up this pastry. On the one hand, there is I felt the strongest anti-American sentiment among the European countries that I've been through. And I think some of that's probably well earned. A lot of folks just go do the cruise ship thing. They're very, don't speak the language in a hosting country and act like, you're indignant because you don't understand what's going on and stuff. And I think also coming from England as well, there was a lot of that. And so some of that unrest you can kind of feel with the tourism piece. There is a financial imbalance to it. And I think there is some just cause to raise a stink about, well, shit, we need to prioritize the living conditions of the people that are actively working, actively paying taxes, actively being the fabric of this community way more than over-indexing on the prioritization for tourism activities and shit. So I can see where they're coming from. That said, there was an overabundance of rebelliousness, and I think that's just part of that city, similar to the rambunctious and rebellious nature that Seattle's always had in the West. It's where grunge came from. It's where a lot of people go to make a scene. Like, what's the town in San Francisco I'm thinking of, or near it?
Berkeley,
Berkeley. Yeah. Absolutely nutty, and it's just kind of been a staple part of that. Every single night of the week that I was in that country, especially in Barcelona, which is in and of itself a standalone part of the nation of Spain. So added rebellion just by the construct of that city within that country. There was a riot every night of the week for something different. They were pissed that the road construction was the way that it was and not getting done in time. And a riot, I should back up a little bit. There was a protest every night of the week. They protested that. There was a lot of anti-tourism sentiment there. There was a lot of anti-American sentiment there. There was a lot of anti-Semitism there, which was pretty easy to see in the way that things were spray painted all over stuff, and a lot of vandalism with some interesting remarks singling out the Jewish people. There was a ton, just everywhere. There was one night of the week.
Is there a large Islamic community in Spain?
Not that I was aware of, but My trek did not take me deeply out of the Gothic Quarter, so I was kind of in tourism central part of that, and I was not going to the docks, right? So I don't know what beyond the ports to the Gothic Quarter. I couldn't really tell you. But the interesting part was, I think I read it down there. I think FC Barcelona is the big professional soccer team that they have down there. And their title sponsor for that team was Uber. And all the local taxi cab drivers blocked off every one of the streets in Spain that you need to take to get to that stadium on one of their match nights as a protest against Uber, because they accepted Uber as their title sponsor and it's screwing over the local taxi cab companies and stuff.
Hold on, I have an answer for you.
Well, of which the taxi cab companies tried to rob me blind, left, right, and center. It helps that I speak Spanish, which is unusual for a guy that looks like me. So I was able to kind of get out of overpaying almost 2 to 3x what I was being charged in some cases, where I was like, that's kind of bullshit. Like, I kind of know where I need to go. And also that's not what the cost says. And so when you switch off the meter and just charge me by eyeballing the miles and stuff, you're not doing me any favors with this. Like, I'll pay you this much and you're going to let me out of the car and we're going to be okay. And they kind of smiled and were like, well, doesn't hurt to try. So there was a lot of that. I had a negative experience in a music shop. It goes on just because I'm an American citizen and stuff. So anyway, what's the resolution to the taxi cab protest? Because that was one of the protests that happened that evening, or one of the evenings I was there.
It's ongoing in small batches, but I did look it up, and yes, Barcelona and the surrounding Catalonia region hosts the largest Muslim population in Spain.
Oh, well, there you go.
Driven primarily by economic migration rather than refugee settlement. So they're there for jobs, not asylum. Users, let's see, consensus that Barcelona is a major hub for the country's Islamic communities. So that's a massive area for that type of, that's probably what spurs the anti-Semitic portion of it the most.
I'd imagine.
But there's also, on the other side of that, there's also a very heavy Latin Catholic part of Spain that also tends to lean into that as well. So I would imagine that Spain is just a breeding ground for that type of anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish kind of communities, kind of built into both of those concepts. But as far as like
a city that's fabric is based off rebelliousness, I mean, through its history, right? So like, yeah, it's kind of a hotbed for sure. Like I'm not surprised by when you said that in the pre-show at all. Like, no, I saw it actually. Yeah. But now full-blown riots means they've ratcheted a few things up since I've been there, but it's very believable.
The situation remains tense as locals continue to voice their concerns about the sustainability of tourism in their cities. Some people are arguing that there's actually that the local Spaniards are split between, like Barcelonians are split between people who absolutely love the tourism that comes from Western culture, Western Europe and America and whatever, because they understand that economically it's
100% of their business's income. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that it's actually a lot of the Islamic influence that is actually cultivating the anti-tourism, because they don't like them there. They don't like Western Christianity there. They also don't like the fact that that the tourism doesn't recognize their customs, and they want the whole country to recognize their customs. So they're looking to actually do calls of prayer there over loudspeakers like they do in New York and a couple of other places now.
Did you see that service that Mom Donnie went to? The remarks he made there?
Dude, so gross.
I'm kind of like, of all cities, after 2001, I could not have fathomed New York participating in this at the level that they are. To me is Anyway,
Yeah, he's even losing a lot of people on the left. A lot of the people on the left are like, "Oh, you're not playing this smart. We kind of wanted to see where you would take this because you're the guy
you get
who
what
says,
you vote for. Isn't that what you said earlier?
yeah." So, but yeah.
Anyway, Spain.
I was just
that's
curious
tough.
about Spain, and I think that it is interesting to see because I mean, right now, if you look at any country in Europe, whether it's Spain, whether it's Paris, whether it's Ireland, whether it's the streets of England, there is contention going on a scale globally that's never been seen before. You can't look at Ireland day to day and not see massive riots going on. The same with a lot of downtown London. Same with France. Yeah. So pick a spot, then you look at Sweden, they've been completely collapsed as a culture because of it. Now, I've been asked about my empathy about this and my sympathy about it, and because of the whole soccer, the FIFA thing in the United States, and I had a take on this where I was just like, I'm glad that you love my country. I'm glad that you see it for the freedoms that it is, but you created that mess over there.
Yeah.
You allowed it through vote, or if you didn't vote for it, you turned a blind eye to it as it was happening around you. You didn't stand up when it started. You didn't say, this isn't good, I'm going to vote against this. You, as far as all of Europe, whether it be the Nordic countries that are being invaded right now, Germanic countries, the British Isles, all of it. Name me a place in Europe right now outside of Poland that hasn't shut its borders and said, we're not doing this.
Iraq.
No, I said Europe.
Europe. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, it's just not. I have very little sympathy, and then they're talking about moving over here, and I'm like, no, I don't want you to move over here, And you get all your Groyper types are like, yeah, we'll trade you for all of the people we want to kick out of the country for all these Europeans who will absolutely appreciate our culture, integrate properly. And I'm like, no, you're asking a bunch of essentially American white liberals to move over here, because that's essentially what they are. They are all the people who brought on everything that is tearing Europe apart right now.
Yeah.
You don't want those votes. So tell you what, thank you for appreciating our country. Now you've seen what your country should look like.
Enjoy the visit. Please go home.
Yeah, go home, fix your country now.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can talk after you fix your country. But in the meantime, no, I don't have a lot of sympathy. Everyone's like, aren't you mad about what's going on in England or in Ireland? They're fighting for their freedom.
Look, logically, you can empathize, but no, I don't feel sad or angry at all.
No. Europe asked for what they got.
Yeah.
They literally opened the doors by vote almost across the board, and then have people in the streets going, bring in the refugees, we'll take, we love them, and then their wives and daughters are getting raped on the streets, and they still don't see it. They still vote the same people in. They still vote this for more and more of the refugees to come over and flood and take over entire blocks of communities where you just can't go.
Well, and I think I'm pretty sure it's England. They have ratcheted it down a little bit based on pure level of effort and manpower that it takes to enforce. But they were arresting people for bad speech on social media based on what they
still going on,
put on Twitter on their cell phones and stuff. Like, there's no length they won't go to reinforce. And I think I think this has to be by design at some point.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It is absolutely by design. And if we want that here in the United States, then let's welcome all these Europeans over here, because that's what we'll get. We'll get the same thing. We'll get the speech laws, we'll get open borders, we'll get completely whole swaths of the city that you can't even go to, criminality being exonerated and actually
Celebrated.
celebrated,
Yeah.
where people who speak up against it will be put in jail. Like, that's what you'll get if you want those guys. They need to fix their problem over there before we bring any of them over here. And so that's, where I've ruffled a few feathers, because there was a lot of joy in what we saw on the internet for a month there when FIFA was over here.
Yeah.
Of people, of these Europeans, wide-eyed and going, I had no idea. We were told it was this crazy violent place, and that we had to look over our shoulder, and that they were all gun nuts and crazy, and then they went across the country and just saw how beautiful it was and how amazing the people were and everything. Like, I was like, yeah, but that's the culture of freedom. That's the culture of free speech. That's the culture of the Second Amendment. That's the culture that we built here, that we left you guys for, because you didn't have enough of it back then.
Right.
And even now you've given up all of it, and you gave it away. It wasn't taken from you. It wasn't you weren't beaten down and you're under the boot of this. You gave it away. And that's why I have very little sympathy for it. Samuel Adams actually had a lot to say about this type of thing. There was a bunch of Samuel Adams quotes that I had to throw up at people, because he was like, I have no sympathy for a group of people, a country that will allow itself to get invaded. Like, got no sympathy. You got what you got. You got what's coming to you. Yeah. And Samuel Adams was kind of a baller that way. So, but yeah, Spain is. It just sucks because of the history. It sucks because of the beauty. It sucks because of the things that we're going to lose, because the people who live there wouldn't stand up for it. And right now, Spain is a hot point for a lot of that.
Yeah, and I probably said this publicly, but I earnestly believe going over there when I did was the very last moment in time in which in my lifetime I would ever get to go over there and see stuff without it being draconian in nature, even to enter the country at all, which was a very big problem for me with the biometric scanners and stuff they instituted just days before my flight arrived. But thankfully all those machines were broken, and they had to postpone the launch, so I got in with the old stamp still. And but I kind of figured this would be the last. I'm no more going to Italy or going to Spain, or
and I saw what I could see, and I was out. I have to kind of wrestle with, is that like my kids are pretty much out of the house now. My wife and I are at the age where people travel because their kids are, and I would love to take my wife to Italy. I would love to take her there. I would love to take her all over Europe, but I don't think we ever will. And it's sad for me to say that. Like, I don't know if the trajectory, even if it, like, we turned and did an about face, if Europe did an about face right now, they swept all of their elections across the board, the UN crapped on itself, and they got to just kind of independently kick everybody out and start turning everything around. The momentum, that it's like a train that you're trying to stop and then put into reverse. That's, even if it stopped today, that's 10 years down the road. Yeah. If that, maybe 20. Yeah. The
affect of those decisions would be a really long tail. I think, honestly, the only way you'd be able to do it is stick to international waters and pop off at port and experience what you can from a tourism perspective. While that's probably the easiest way to get around the Mediterranean or around Europe. It would have to
be a cruise.
It'd have to be a cruise. It would have to be, and there's problems with those as well. But I think at the end of the day, going inland, doing the backpack on a train for a month across Europe is hard to do.
Yeah. So
anyway, I don't want to sound like two angry conservative white guys on the internet for any longer than I have to, but I think there's logic in what we're saying. Talk to me about Bryan Kohberger. What's going on here?
Well, for more of a local story,
Yeah.
we Mr. Koberger, and Mr. Koberger is the convicted killer of four college age kids down in Moscow, Idaho.
Yes.
It was a big national, international, case. It touched our family fairly closely. My daughter played softball in high school with one of the victims' younger sisters, so we knew the families. And a couple of the girls, but one specifically, the same girl who my sister played, or my daughter played with her sister, worked for my sister at the coffee stands.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of connective tissue to this area with these girls, and it was an insane tragedy, and a big deal where every, like, Nancy Grace to every big name crime person, even who's the guy who writes the John Grisham even wrote a book about it, so like all of these people have been involved in this case, and it was pretty conclusive that Bryan Kohberger was absolutely the one who committed this horrific crime. And
this was a shooting 3 or 4 years ago at University of Idaho, right? That one?
2022. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was convicted, and now that he's been in, he even pled guilty.
My then boss had a son that was at UI when that was going on. And I remember that being a tough day, getting ripped out of work, trying to figure out what happened. And then the news stories started coming in. So 4 years ago. Yeah.
So he is trying to change his court filings now that he's been in prison for, a couple of years here. He's trying to change his guilty plea to obtain a new trial, and change it to not guilty, and so that he can get a new trial out of this. Kohberger claimed he is innocent and that his previous guilty plea was the result of false promises and blatant disinformation. His court filings allege ineffective assistance of counsel, stating that his defense team misled him about the severity of Idaho's death row and pressured him into confessing to avoid the death penalty.
Sure.
That being said, weirdly, while the trial was going on, there was a Friday the 13th that actually happened in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And during the Friday the 13th, we had our Friday the 13th special at the shop. On a very busy Friday, a lady walked in with two of her daughters, adult daughters, and they got dispersed amongst my artists. And I ended up tattooing the mom. The mom was his lawyer.
Oh, wow.
So I tattooed his lawyer while the trial was going on. She is a tiger of a lawyer in this area and is known for it. He was not underrepresented. He did not have bad counsel. Like, this woman is known. She actually was put on this case by the state attorney general. So, like, this was something that was given to her because of her expertise in these type of situations. So, but the attorney general now, who is a friend of ours, Raul Labrador, expressed sympathy for the victims' families and stated his office is ready to ensure justice is carried out. Though the prosecutor's office declined to comment on the specific legal filings due to pending litigation. So everyone's kind of like on edge about this because they want to see what the judges will say, if they give this merit at all, if they let this go any further. It's all under review right now. So
if for some reason he gets a retrial and changes the plea to not guilty and is subsequently found guilty again, that puts death row back on the menu, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Kind
It
of a
puts him at
big gamble
risk.
for somebody that wants
That's
a
a
better deal.
huge gamble. Yeah, huge gamble. Because now, you know, we have the firing squad
Right.
for death penalty in Idaho now. So like it'll happen fast. So that may be what he's trying to do here, because he didn't get the death penalty and he realized he got life, and he realized life in prison is going to be worse than a quick death. So he may be playing that angle. That's what some people have speculated. But they don't know. They don't know what he's actually playing at here, because the mountains of evidence against him on a DNA level alone, his cell phone activity, like it's pretty airtight. Like there's just no way around it. It would have to be a miracle for some other ridiculous evidence to drop from the sky and go, oh, actually, I planted all that. I'm the one who did it. Like, here's the videotape of me doing it, kind of stuff that would actually be needed in order to kind of counter the evidence that they have against this guy. It's crazy the amount of evidence they have, and so no one really understands what he's trying to get at here, because like you said, it's a big gamble and it's a big risk. So who knows?
Like it.
Who knows? But it's picking the scab of the community that's trying to heal too. And I think maybe that might be something that he's also after, you know, just to, you know, keep getting at everybody, because how dare you? He's had a how dare you attitude since even before the murders. Like he's just known for it. Like I'm smarter than all of you. How dare you look down on me? And so this it's probably got a couple of elements of that too, of him like going, yeah, I'll just stir up the community and get everybody all, you know, pissed off again. So, but yeah, so that's what's going on in Idaho for the Kohberger case. It is quite an ordeal. So I will keep you guys updated on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to do some follow up on that for sure. Well, let's turn this pod around into some happy times. Let's talk about the dope.
Yeah.
This one's fun. Okay. I've actually seen a couple of these. I didn't know that it was like a regular channel that does nothing but this type of content, but I came across, I think, 2 of them in my algorithm before.
Yeah.
Super good stuff.
Yeah, this is...
Talk to us about Podzilla Cast, please.
Podzilla Cast. So the dope this week is Podzilla Cast, which is something that at first I was kind of against, because there's a lot of these kind of AI kind of creations that are coming, and they're whole channels that are built out of AI creations, and some of them are super bizarre, weird, like dark fantasy stuff, like it's
like 80%
Conan,
of all
like,
internet content, and growing right now, by the way, too. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So, but every once in a while, one of the gems comes out of that, kind of somebody who has a fun, creative kind of idea and really applies AI properly to it, you know?
Yeah.
And this is one of them, and it's the Podzilla Cast, which is basically, if you took Joe Rogan, which it is completely modeled after. In fact, it even kind of uses his voice. Put him in his studio and used his logo, but instead of him being called Joe Rogan, he's called Joe Rodan, and it's called the Joe Rodan Experience, and it's Podzilla Cast. And basically, it's if Rodan was from the Godzilla world, the kaiju world, was Joe Rogan interviewing like Godzilla and Mothra and King Ghidorah and Cthulhu, and Gamera is his tech guy, his producer.
His Jamie.
So he has, his Jamie. Yeah. So Gamera is his Jamie, but he's got, you know, Cthulhu and King Kong and all of these, and Son of Godzilla, and it is. They go over like current topics that's going on in the news, but it's from the perspective of how big kaiju monsters would actually view it. And it's hilarious. It is absolutely comedy gold, but done in a really fun digital AI fashion, and the writing is fantastic. and it's just really well done. It's a series that I've really grown to enjoy every time they put out a new episode.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's like a Godzilla fan, I have buddies who I've done full Godzilla bodysuits on, and then a friend down in Vegas who works at the shop, or did. She is a huge Godzilla and Mothra fan. She made a big Mothra costume. So this is right up their alley. Like, there's a whole culture of people who are kaiju people and who absolutely love kaiju culture, and this fits right into there. They're on
yeah, it's got a lot of interesting parallel vibes. Like, I was feeling like going way back in time for, I guess, my generation. I was feeling some Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law kind of flavor to it.
Yeah,
But it's just a Joe Rogan podcast done with Godzilla characters and AI voices made to sound like Joe Rogan and a guest. But it's hilarious because the banter is exactly the same as you'd find on the JRE. And I didn't see many of them. I saw like a real short clip and then like a 2-minute long excerpt from a completely different conversation. But I just thought they were self-generated shorts. I didn't realize they did a whole pod like episode on these, but it is hilarious. The pieces they aggregate and cut for socials and stuff like that is pretty funny.
Yeah, right now they've got about 35,000 followers on Instagram, and I think that they actually are on other platforms as well. I think that they're on YouTube and a couple of others, but it's just kind of comedic joy when with hilarity and monsters, and kind of showing the absurdity of, if you're like these kind of big mega beasts with a different perspective on the world, how the topics of humanity like that would be talked about on Joe Rogan, the perspective that they have is completely different and completely like it kind of shows the absurdity of when we get into the weeds about topics, and they're kind of above it. And I really love that aspect of it. So
I think everyone should check it out. I'm going to spend a little more time with it as well and go forward. A lightning fast update on last week's. I presented Skate on Dogs, right? The little wiener dog and the skateboard guy, all AI stuff. I found out today Skate on Dogs has their own mobile app. And do you remember Emo Game, that Flash game where you could be like, Chris Carrabba and his like ovaries yesterday. Or Matt Skiba, and like beer bottles would come down for like the super attack or whatever. It's very modeled after that vector 2-dimensional thing, and it's a side scroller. And I guess I haven't downloaded it on my phone. I probably won't, but apparently you just flick up and the little wiener dog, the 2-dimensional wiener dog, will jump and like do a kickflip. And it's just a dumb side. But you can play it on your phone now. You can play along with Skate on Dogs as the guy skating a wiener dog in different little maps. It was pretty funny. I saw them put a download now excerpt, and they did a big stink about it, and it's like a little Flash phone application now. It's pretty funny. So more to come, I'm sure, as they develop that out, but it's good time.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, Emo Game, that's a way back machine for me. But
dude, I remember sitting at Center Partners, like on the computers in between calls, playing Emo Game, dude, like way back when. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Movies, did you see anything this week?
I did. What did I see? I saw an old movie that I have not seen before, and I cannot remember what it's Knocked Up is what I saw, with Katherine Heigl and what's his name, Seth Rogen. Pretty funny, the cameos that are in there. It's one of the Seth Rogen era raunch comedies. It wasn't as good as I'm sure it was back in the day when that was still the new trend. It's always fun to see Katherine Heigl in a show and wonder how long she lasted before blowing up on a crew member. But it was kind of funny. The next one I have not seen that everyone else has is called Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and I need to find a way to see that next. But
that one's good too. There is an uncomfortable wiener scene.
Oh, okay. So well, maybe we'll skip it. I don't know.
Well, it's the main. It's a really great movie though. Like, and he gets to introduce his Dracula puppet opera
Yeah.
in it. That's a really, really fun kind of added weird kind of thing to this. But there was a scene where and it's based loosely off of something he went through in real life. And the main actor guy, I forget his name, but he was in like How I Met Your Mother.
Okay, yeah. Segel.
And yeah, Jason Segel.
Yeah.
There's a pretty like unexpected, but then like, whoa, it's right there, like wiener scene with that guy. So
the unexpected magic, Mike.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
So
but nothing of consequence, honestly. It's been all work making a dull boy over here for the most part.
Yeah. I watched two things.
Yeah, you did.
I'm gonna start with something that you've seen.
Yes. I saw it in theater.
And that was, you went and saw it in the theater, right?
Did.
I wanted to at the time, didn't have the ability to do it. But the new Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat 2, with Carl Urban coming in with the Johnny Cage character, which now make no bones about it. There is not much to this movie.
Right.
It is as simple as a plot gets.
Yeah. It's probably better. It's probably higher brow than Sharknado, but we're in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The rating system of the Meg is perfect for this film.
Predicated on the Meg, which is in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. Now, I'm old enough to have seen both of the original Mortal Kombat movies that came out in the 90s or early 2000s or whatever.
As did I. Yeah.
I saw those in the theater. I have since gone back and watched them, and whew, those are rough.
It's worse than you remember. Yeah.
But I don't even know how those ones got in the theater. They were that low budget. It was real bad. But these ones, the first one I actually really kind of enjoyed, in the aspect of like, I don't know what people want, but this is Mortal Kombat. This is exactly what the video game was meant to be. This is what the whole story arc is supposed to be. This is what the visuals are supposed to be. This is what the action is supposed to be. They gave us Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And in fact, the first one even gave us a little bit of extra story that nobody was asking for, but got it anyway, and they actually did a decent job with it. There was a bit of an editing issue, I thought, where I didn't really understand some, and I don't think you're really meant to. I think you're just kind of supposed to suspend your disbelief and just go along with the fantasy of it. This one was a far more simple plot.
Yeah.
And they launch right in, basically, and there's no character development, and there doesn't need to be. It wasn't required of my viewing of this. This was just to watch dudes and chicks and monsters beat each other up in crazy backgrounds and do crazy stuff, and nothing else really mattered about it. And I had a lot of fun. I watched this last night, and it was worth the 2 hours. Now, is it going to win any awards? Absolutely not. It's a Mortal Kombat movie. And I think people try to say, could you give me a serious Mortal Kombat movie? Could you really layer on some depth to this, please?
So they might. And the reason why is years ago, there was a web series that was fan generated about Mortal Kombat. Did you see any of those? And it was like a series of short films. Essentially, they're about 2 scenes long in a regular film, but it had Katie Sackhoff in it, who does a lot of like sci-fis and low budget stuff and independent film.
Yeah.
Yep. And it had a bunch of different characters, but they portrayed Raiden as like appearing to Earthrealm and then not knowing why he was there. Like he kind of woke up in a lightning bolt in the middle of, and he ends up getting institutionalized. And so like part of his story, he's in an insane asylum, like going through the electroshock treatment, which doesn't really affect him at all. And it shows him like beginning to remember who he is once he's like walking the yard like a fentanyl zombie. It goes through Jack's backstory, and it was really good, but it was gritty as hell. And it was like one of those kind of like, it wasn't as cartoonish as John Wick, but it had that like serious grit to it, like especially the first couple of films and stuff like that. And everybody went nuts for this, which is why I think Mortal Kombat was greenlit, because the first ones were trash. And we did get something that was a little more grounded and whatever. It's still over the top and all that shit because of what it is. But that ilk, I think there's a contingent of fans that saw those web series and was like, if I could just have that in a 2-hour movie and build off of these plot lines, this would be insane. Because like Reptile in that web series looked terrifying, and there's just, it was really, I encourage you go YouTube rabbit hole that when you get a chance to. So there may be a contingent of people that are that way, but I personally, for what they created, thought was much better than the 90s ones. I really like the guy who plays Scorpion a lot. He's like one of my favorite actors. I love that dude a bunch, and it was really good. And Kano's always fun comic relief, so I like number 2 as well.
They put him in that show Shogun.
Very good.
That got all those accolades. Yeah, so
very
he's
good
one
show.
of the guys from there. Yeah.
Oh,
but yeah. Kano stole the show.
Yeah, I did watch something else. Go on.
And Kano stole the show. Carl Urban was good, but I'm like, kind of unnecessary. Like, to get somebody like Carl Urban, he must just be a fan of this franchise.
Yeah. Or needed
for
a
him
paycheck.
to have jumped in. Yeah, or needed a paycheck. Yeah, because he also did Doom.
Yeah.
And
terrible
so,
movie, by the way.
Yeah.
With The Rock, I think that one.
Yeah. And I think that like he is a fan, like he must have been a gamer at that time frame when Mortal Kombat and Doom were like heavy hitting in the gaming world, and he just has like kind of nostalgic connection to them. And so I think he probably went, hell yeah, I'll be in a Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I'll play Johnny Cage. Yeah, I'll do. Yeah. So because they didn't really give him. They gave him scenes and they gave him fight scenes and stuff, but this role could have technically been played by just about anybody, and he was almost unnecessary for this film, especially since they already had another wisecracking Australian. It just seemed like overkill, but I was okay with the overkill because I like anything Carl Urban's in. So, man, I would say rewatchability is pretty high on this one. Probably 7.5 mags on the toothy end. I thought it was fun. It was good.
Nice.
So
I was watching I was watching some documentary. I've regained access to Netflix, but it's like the $2 Netflix where you have to sit through 100 commercials and stuff. But this is an actual text message conversation. To me, how are you? My response, I'm okay, just chilling on the couch watching some documentary on feudal Japan. Back to me. How relaxing. So the only thing I'm learning is that I have a growing irrational desire to own and possibly forge a sword for no reason at all. It continues. I later send out, oh my God, like if these samurais lose a battle or sometimes an argument or literally just in protest, these guys just can't stop committing suicide. It's insane. This last guy offed himself because he had to retreat to a nearby town for supplies. Like, no wonder this time period evaporated from history. So if that enlightens the viewer or listener to the shit that I watch, I was literally watching those documentary types of shows that are like, what was the best warrior in all of history? And they like do these guys made swords that look like this, and this is how the battle would play out. That type of shit.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that, but it was kind of in that same vein. And it was pretty depressing to just watch these dudes keep killing themselves for disagreements. Like, man, just get over it. Find a way to communicate, you'll be fine. Feudal Japan, what a weird time. Anyway, what else did you see?
I saw something that I'd seen a trailer for a while back, and it looked really interesting, and it popped up on, I think, I want to say Hulu, maybe.
Yeah.
But it is a quirky film, which I tend to gravitate towards, but and it stars Sam Rockwell, which I also gravitate towards. I've always enjoyed him. He is a great character actor and can kind of draw me in whatever, from Moon to Green Mile to whatever he's in. Like I tend to really enjoy his work. And he played in a movie that came out in 2025, and it's called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And the premise of it is you're at Mel's Diner in what looks to be the summer at night, and that's all you really need to know. And the door opens, and this guy who's dressed like kind of like a homeless guy, but he's got all these tubes and wires and like a crazy clear coat and looks kind of like a futuristic homeless person.
Sure.
And he comes in and he's immediately announces himself and says, "This isn't a robbery, but I am holding you all hostage because I need to pick a group of you to help save the world from an AI that takes over. I'm here from the future, and I am here to, there's some combination of people out of the 47 people in this room. There's some combination that we leave and we get through and we get to our destination and we can stop the AI from taking over tonight." And
well, God, dude, I mean, if hostage hell, I mean, if he just goes to Virginia, he'd probably find volunteers at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So they all obviously, are all there having their own lives and such, and they all think that he's crazy, but then he reveals that he's got like bombs strapped to his chest, so they all have to listen to him.
Sure.
And it turns out, like, through the next 20 minutes of the scene, you start to realize that he knows them all, and he can actually goes, "Not you, you die every time. And you're useless. You run away every time. You and I had a romance and it was beautiful, but every time you betray me on the last day." Over and over again, he knows all their names. He knows like little things that are going to happen. So he starts to really kind of indicate that he actually has been doing this. And it turns out this is his 117th time doing it. And on this particular time, the group that he picks, and he lets them all know, "You're not going to live. Like, you will probably die on getting us there, but I need every one of you has some element that gets us closer to the end." And so, and there's two girls that weird him out that he never picks because they're just weirdos. And he finally goes, "All right," because one of them volunteers, and then the other one, they both volunteer in their own different ways, and he goes, "Fine, you can come. What's the harm? Maybe this will be the formula." And they, of course, the police show up, and then they have to get out of the building. And as they're going on this adventure across the city, trying to get to this house, things go bonkers. There's dudes in pig masks with AK-47s trying to kill them, there's giant cats that are trying to kill them. Like, the AI is throwing everything it can at them within the construct of and keep him away from this house. And it is hilarious. It's perfectly paced and timed. It is just a super fun movie.
Nice.
And it's directed by Gore Verbinski. But I was completely glued and captivated to this the entire time. It's got people in it, and it'll do flashbacks of the different people that are with him in that group, of what they were doing the day before and how it all kind of led to this, and how they started seeing like problems with what's going on with AI, and that's why they felt compelled to help him.
So it's kind of like Boy Kills World meets Edge of Tomorrow type of vibe.
100%
Yeah.
exactly that,
Got it.
because literally instantly after this ended, the suggestion was Boy Kills World.
Yeah.
Because
you
it
go.
has the same vibe. It has the same
Well, yeah,
vibe.
and Edge of Tomorrow, I think, takes itself a little more seriously than it should, but it's still a really good movie. And it's a surprising pick for Tom Cruise, although he did Oblivion too, so maybe he's just into it. But I really enjoyed that movie a lot. But
yeah,
the whole 117th time, it's like, oh, that rings a few bells. Like, so there's some tropes and narrative things that are kind of recognizable.
I think you nailed it when you said if Boy Kills World and
Edge of Tomorrow.
What's the Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah.
If those two had a baby, and you threw Sam Rockwell as the lead, almost a little 12 Monkeys in there too.
Okay.
Like
nice.
if you
this
threw
sounds
all
like
that
it's
in,
got me written all over it.
yeah. So if you threw 12 Monkeys, Edge of Tomorrow, and Boy Kills World, and this is the baby that it would have, and it's a blast. I'd say 8.5 megs to the end. Definitely recommend. A ton of rewatchability. The humor hits, the point of the movie hits, the ending hits, all of it hits. So definitely something that I think you would enjoy, but I think just general, the audience would enjoy too.
Nice.
So, but yeah, good luck. Have fun. Don't die.
Awesome. Shoot. That brings us to our Overlord tip, number 30.
Number 30. We're at 30 already.
The saga continues, tips. Friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's plenty more where this came from too. So don't think that we're running near the end of this list. We're solid. But there's what spurs rebellion? What spurs the American spirit, or even the spirit, like a rebellious spirit to fight against the regime? And that's hope. Mm-hmm. Hope is what does that. And typically hope is cultivated by a strong leader, a desperate people, mm-hmm. but also by a plucky, humor-filled, hope-filled person,
right?
Who tends to bring people, their spirits up, who brings hope and resilience to that group, because despair will kill the energy of a rebellion. And so, why do we let them live, right?
Yeah.
All bumbling conjurers, clumsy squires, no talent bards, and cowardly thieves, all of those types in the land will be preemptively put to death.
Sure.
I will find them. Yeah. I will pluck them out of society and say, you create joy, you create hope, you create something. My foes will surely give up and abandon their quest if they have no source of comic relief.
There you go.
If their comic relief is out of there, there's no inspiration. Inspiration is pulled like it creates a vacuum.
Sure.
And despair fills that void. And so it just is controlling the narrative preemptively.
These are simple tips, folks. Yeah. Simple. And you're right. That's amazing. I love it. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it just makes sense on paper and in action to make a preemptive strike on anybody who's going to bring a smile to the face of the people. So.
Oh man. Well, there you have it, guys. Overlord tip number 30. Keep checking in. We've got more where that came from. Yeah, you got anything else this week?
No, this week I got work, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on that might be, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be a relatively boring week. So, but yeah, no more stop sign stealing.
No more stop sign stealing. Fantastic.
Yeah, we've cut that off. Yeah. So
Gotta quell that behavior from parent corner last week.
Yeah.
Well, right on. I suppose that's it then for Lucky I'm Angel. You guys have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.